Hey guys, hope everyone's having a great day. I just wanted to do a quick block update video. I realize not everyone following me is following me for this specific token, but there's a good percentage of you that are, so I feel the need to make this update here. It's actually a very important one. So let's get into it. Here's the block chart, and when on first glance, you can very obviously see it's an uptrend overall. So if I took the mean regression line and I just ran it from when it was launched to where it is now, it's in a definitive uptrend, right? Now, it's also on a decline here. So obviously everyone's been bleeding out for this little run over here. But again, that hasn't been for too long. If we look at the continuum of the chart and where it started to peak over here to where it is today, it's only been 2 days, but everyone's panicking like this is the end of the world. I realize that it's more nuanced than that because there's a token unlock coming up, and people are panicking in the Telegram groups, which, by the way, get out of them because they're nonsense. Like, for instance, I'm in the group here. If you type in unlock, you're just going to see a bunch of people like schizophrenics that are just panicking and losing their mind, but without actually knowing the numbers. You have to actually know the numbers before you start panicking, and only then you can feel confident about what the next step is with the unlock. But anyway, we'll get into that. I'd like to start with one of the patterns I'm tracking, and I'm tracking a whole bunch of them. This one's on the 4-hour, so we're going to look at the Fib retracements on the 4-hour. Fib retracements, Fibonacci retracements, are basically perfect ratios of retracements back to price levels where the average participant in trading this coin sees value in it and then re-enters or enters for the first time by making a purchase. So the way we identify them specifically is the 618 to the 615 is the golden pocket, and that's where the majority of people are going to come in and purchase on a retracement. A deeper retrace would hit the 786 like it has over here, and the absolute deepest retracement the average coin will make is the 886. But you know, coins that are in not as bullish trends or have run up, you know, to a point that just doesn't make sense, they sometimes will retrace 100%, meaning if it started here, it ends here on the retracement. So I'll take you through each major price increase and then what the retracement would have been. So after the initial launch on KuCoin over here, there was a 50% dump, and that's represented by this wick over here. So you know, any run-up that was experienced here got dumped almost immediately, and it's understandable because a lot of people who bought in the IDO phase that received their initial listing token unlock, they were up 28,000%. So like anyone would dump their token at that point and take profit. It just makes sense, right? I mean, if you were invested $875, you would have made 34,000 on that initial investment. So very logical dump. But when it hit that point over here, the 50% retrace, people started buying in and the price ran up. I didn't include it in this chart only because that's the initial dump and run up, so it's kind of an outlier move. We can't rely on that. But after that first run up, it retraced to the 686. So basically, sorry, the 786, which is 78.6% of the run up was taken back. And then people stepped in, they ran the price up again 315%. And then from that peak over here, there was a drop 55%. So it retraced 55%, and then people started to buy in again. Now, this wasn't the next run up. All it did, it ran up a bit, then it came down and consolidated. This right here, I would actually consider it more of a consolidation zone from here to here. So once it found its natural floor around here at the 382 from the macro move, that's when people started catching more buy bids than sells, and it ran up again 115%, and that impulse was followed by a bit of a consolidation again over here. So it's not a dramatic consolidation. You know, it didn't last too long, but then again, it's in a definitive bullish trend, so naturally these consolidation periods will be very minimal, and then there's going to be a next run up. So it ran up right after that into, if we change the timeline into a 1 hour time frame, what appears to be a Gartley. So this is a very bullish Gartley, and although the ratio isn't exact, it's pretty close, right? This retracement of the X to A leg to the B almost was the 618, 698, and then it went up, but it stopped just before the A leg over here, and then retraced again, 90%, so almost 886. So it's a pretty decent Gartley, and the reaction off the bottom over here on the D leg was beautiful. It had a small consolidation, and then it's just started its parabolic run right after that. So we'll go back into the 4-hour chart, and here's where the explosive move happens. So naturally what happens in harmonics, there's such powerful, Gartleys are essentially the godfather of harmonic patterns, and it's one of the more powerful patterns, this bullish Gartley. So typically when it hits that pattern completion zone here at the D point, the pattern reverses. So in this case, a bullish Gartley reverses to the upside, and the impulse tends to be very strong. So it's actually very noticeable when you're looking at the chart here. You know, these were moderate impulses on the way up, and then here's kind of a parabolic impulse. So it's very obvious it came out of a strong harmonic pattern. Anyway, this next leg, I thought I had the price change over here, but we're looking at from the bottom to the top, 278% gain from there, from the pattern completion. So really strong run up, and actually if you run the EMAs aside from it, you can see the spread increase dramatically. So it has to come back down to retest it. And as you see here, we're about to retest it here. This is almost the perfect entry where you're going to catch a bounce. So we fell out of an accumulation zone, but we're approaching the 50 period moving average on the 4-hour. The bounce off here, if it even reaches this, is going to be really strong, I anticipate. So look for that. So the other thing to note here is actually, let's go back to the EMA. So if it touched the EMA and caught a bounce, what we're looking at right here is a confluence with the 618. So again, this is the perfect ratio for where typically reversals will happen. So from the original impulse here, you have a run up to the top here, and then the completion of this reversal pattern could happen at the 618, which also has confluence with the 50 period EMA on the 4-hour. This is stronger than if the 50 period EMA was on the 1 hour, 15, 30, or any lower time frame. Again, if it was on the daily, it would be strongest, but there's not enough data to run that. So I'm only looking at the 4-hour, and this is actually a really strong confluence. So I'm looking here at 9.99, so basically 10 cents, an incredible bounce off here. And I'll show you another confluent pattern that's working with this 50 period EMA. So look for this. The price is just around 10 cents where I expect a massive bounce because it's going to touch the 50 period EMA. And it happens to be the 618 retracement, so very strong. So that's the first pattern I'm looking at. I'm just going to black this one out. Now the second pattern, and it's very obvious on the 4-hour. If I stretch this out, we've got a bit of a macro bull flag on the 4-hour. This is very obvious, this pattern. So the way we create the pattern, we take the swing low, which was right over here, so coming from this swing high, local high, to this swing low where it bottomed, then it reversed the pattern to the upside. This is where the pole anchors, right over here, and it goes to the top number where the sell-off began, which is right here where you see the upper wick, and that was around, let's see what the high was here. So 17.8 basically, and then it started to reverse to the downside. Now all it's doing in this reversal, it's just running down the flag. So basically it's doing this. And we consider it a bull flag the moment that it has 5 touches. So basically on the 4 hour we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's where we could start plotting it as a legitimate bull flag. And then it again has another touch here, touches here, and you'll notice that it's coiling up in the sense that the spread from the top of the bull flag to the bottom is decreasing as it's running its path over here. And that's also characteristic of a bull flag. So then what we do is we basically transpose the length of the pole over here at wherever the breakout might occur. So we're assuming it's going to happen here in the bottom end, and it could go all the way, it could go deeper, right? But what I'm basing this as the breakout point on is if we take the 618 over here, and then it has its final move to the upside here or here, somewhere in this little range over here, we're expecting the breakout, so that's how we're treating it. 618 reversal on the bull flag. And if it does, typically what's going to happen, the target, the first target is going to be the top right here. So basically where the current all-time high is, which sits around 17.72, 17.8, let's say. So this would be the first target on the reversal, and then the top target is going to be the top of the bull pole over here that we put in. So right there. And that would be at 23.56. So this pattern and this retracement to the 618 is confluent with the macro trend that I was charting on the 4 hour. So it's something to look out for. Very, very strong bull flag forming here, and I would anticipate if you see a breakout here above around the 10.9, so if we get to this point here, we bottom one more time, and then we approach 11 cents, and then you see suddenly an impulse candle come out of nowhere, and it's a really strong one, and then volume starts to build here. That's where I'm looking for the major breakout and its next move to the upside. So very encouraging. Now, let's take this one off and show you another pattern that I've been tracking. And actually, you'll see in the notes there's a guy on there's a girl on Twitter named Gad. She's incredible. She does really good charting for Bloktopia, and I recommend following her on Twitter. She's really, really, really good. She's actually where I started tracking this channel from. So let's open it up. So if we go into log scale and we plot the channel on the 4 hour, we're basically looking at an upper bound range and a lower bound. And typically, once you've got the channel, you've secured basically a ceiling over here after 2 touches, then to the downside, a couple touches. So basically, we now have a proper channel after 5 touches, 2 to the upside, 3 to the bottom, or vice versa. And what you'll notice is its pattern is continually going to the upside. So I mean, if we take out these short-term moves, so as we move from here to here, or even from the midpoint here to the bottom, it's only 4 days, right? But if we take from here to here, it's 8 days, and in that time frame the price has only increased, right? So the price here relative to the price here, it's you know, it's 1.5x. So here it opened at 1790 998 on its first high in the log channel, and here we have 22469. Then I also tracked the midpoint, which is represented by the dashed line over here. And you'll notice that when we cross over and have a close below that midpoint within the logarithmic channel, that when it bounces off and finds its floor along this channel, it's at a higher price represented by the slope of this line over here. So from here to here, you can see the slope is identified, and it's actually a higher price than it was over here. So it can bounce around, it can actually go lower here, but typically where it closes out is at a higher price than where it entered the median point here. And as we run up the channel, you'll see there's a bit of resistance in the midway point of the channel. Then we break out and we have a massive impulse over here the moment we break out of the channel. So it shows it's very relevant when we're trying to understand where the price action is heading. Once we break through this midpoint, which already had 1 touch, 2 touch, 3, there's a massive impulse over here on the 4-hour candle. So very strong data point to look at. And then we hit our ceiling of the macro logarithmic channel over here at 17,395, and it goes a little bit above, it wicks out, but that's where it reverses. So it reverses back into the channel, hits the midway point here around 12,580, and now it's still descending. So if we zoom in a bit, you'll see we've been descending now for 4, 8, 12, 16 hours, right? And it's starting to find a bit of support here at 10.9. This little box, this triangle here, is where the reversal is going to start. So it can happen as low as here, 8153, which I highly doubt it's going to do at this point, because the next 4-hour candle closes somewhere in here. So the absolute lowest we can now say is going to be around here. So it's changed since I started plotting it, which would be 823. But again, it's probably not going to. It's going to make a move here, come in and out. But if we take the time frame it took for it to hit from the median point of the channel, so the middle point, to where it touched the floor of the channel here, it took 4 days and 16 hours. So if we just basically take that measured move from where it closed the candle below the middle point here, and we run it 4 days and 16 hours, that takes us to this bar over here. And if we run the slope from where it closed to where this vertical line intersects with the channel here, this is where I'm predicting we're going to have our impulse up. So note that the current price is sitting right here at, where is it currently? So 10.7 basically. We're at 10.7 now. And I'm predicting that here at 12.42 we're going to reverse. So that's actually, you'll see the slope on this line. It's actually higher than we are now. So I'm predicting it's going to travel along this ascending triangle to here, and then boom, that's where it's going to bounce. Now it can bounce if we take the other time frame from basically here where it last touched the top of the channel to where it bottomed here. That took 8 days, 48 bars. So last time it touched the top of the channel on this run up here, and I've tracked it here, 48 bars, 8 days, would take us to this line over here, this vertical line. So that could, on the from the top end, so the ceiling of the channel to the floor, it could take 8 days if we replicate what happened in the first run. And that would be if we take the area where it would close and where it intersects with the bottom of the channel, we're looking at 14.42 before macro reversal. So again, we could just basically move that here and it would be very similar to the 4-day channel from middle point to the bottom. Anyway, this is more abstract and a lot of this is speculative, but the one thing we do have is this is data. You know, this is showing us specifically how long it's taken to hit the top of the channel and the bottom and then the medium point. So it's another thing that I'm tracking. And again, if we use this channel, it took 10 days to get from the last time we hit the bottom of the channel to the top. So if we hit the, basically if we hit, hold on, 1 second. All right, so if we hit here early, 10 days, if we extend this channel, we're looking at the top of the channel hitting right here. Oh, sorry, that's not right, from here. There. So 10 days from the absolute bottom of the channel, here, from the midpoint to the floor, would take us to 83 cents on the logarithmic scale. Obviously that's super ambitious, and I don't think it's going to get anywhere near there. But I think the immediate target that we should be looking at is the bull flag. That's the one that's, I think, the most in play right now. So let me get out of the log scale here. So again, the bull flag is the move that we're looking for right here. First 17.7, and once we break all-time high, 23.56. Now, for everyone who's panic selling, I can understand why you're panic selling, right? So let's do the math. People were getting it for this price times, oh, sorry, actually, I did this wrong. So let's say you got $800 allocation, and it could have been half, but let's just say 800, and you divide it by your IDO price. You'd be sitting on 3.2 million tokens, right? So if you multiply that by today's price, even while the price has descended from 17 cents to 10, at 10 cents, you're sitting on $320,000. Why wouldn't you sell, right? I mean, there's no reason, with people's tokens locked up for that 30 days, knowing where the price is ascended to, that they wouldn't sell if they're in that much profit. Now, if you believe in the project, the real way to do it would be to sell a portion of it, leave a moon bag in, and just let that bag run. So let's say they even sold, let's say the allocation was half what I gave. So then, you know, instead of $800 you were able to buy with $400, you would have $160,000 in profit right now from a $400 allocation. There's no reason why you wouldn't sell. So the assumption we're making right now on the token unlock is people will sell. And even if at the moment you sold a portion of your bag, let's say you sold 80% and you kept 20% in as a moon bag, that moon bag you leave in is still 32,000, right? So divided by 10 cents, you're still sitting on a bag with 320,000 Bloktopia tokens, right? And you know, if you believe the price is going to $1, which I do, I absolutely do. I think this is going to be the benchmark metaverse project, and just the fact that all these major chains are starting to enter metaverse and buy space within Bloktopia, there's no reason why this can't go to $1. Then your $32,000 that you left in as a moon bag from the original IDO allocation would be worth $320,000 again. Now, another thing on everyone's mind is the token unlock. Everyone's nervous because of the IDO tokens that are investing that are going to get unlocked, that there's going to be a massive dump of block tokens on the market. And that's a very valid concern. You know, I mean, there was a lot of tokens that were distributed, a total raise of $5.1 million, at really low prices, right? And I've tracked in a Google Doc exactly what amount would be released on what date, and it looks like all of them are going to be released on the 5th of November. I'm not going to open the Google Doc right now, but I've tracked it in this screenshot here on a Google Sheet. Basically, there was 1, 2, 3 IDO platforms that it launched on: TrustPad, Seedify, Red Kite. Each one of them received a specific amount of tokens on that launch. So basically, if you look here on TrustPad, there was 400 million tokens allocated from that IDO, and 10% of those were unlocked on listing, as you'll see here. 10% at listing, so that would be 40 million tokens. So assuming that the 100% of the amount of tokens that were unlocked were dumped onto the market, that would be 40 million tokens. Now, we can't assume with complete assurance that all of them were dumped on the market, because some people who believed in the project and figured it would run probably kept a moon bag. Some of them kept all of it, thinking this is going to $1 and I'm not touching any of my tokens until I've hit that $1 target. So I'm assuming that 100% of the tokens were dumped. So again, Seedify, Red Kite were the other two IDO platforms that had allocations. And then there was a private round 1, which was in the beginning, I guess they didn't know exactly what the interest would be, so they did a smaller allocation for that. They realized there's a real market for the project, so they did a private round 1B, and there was a much higher allocation in that round. And each round and each IDO platform comparatively had different prices. And it's typically the case. Like the seed round is going to get the best pricing at 0.0001 cent. And they got 400 million tokens. Oh, sorry, it's actually, this is what's unlocked. So 5%, this is 5% of what they were allocated. So the total potential dump, if we took all the unlocks on listing, was 1.74 billion tokens. All right. And what we do know, based on the data, is 50% dump after it was launched on KuCoin. So it ran up quick, and then everyone dumped their tokens, and the price dropped by 50%. So that's a fact. We're not making this up. We're not being creative with numbers. This is the actual number. So again, more tokens on this unlock are going to be unlocked than when it was launched, because some of these on listing were only unlocking 5% on listing in the private rounds and seed, whereas on this unlock they're going to be able to unlock higher amounts. So the total tokens that are eligible for unlock, that will be unlocked, that are eligible to be dumped on the market, are exactly 617% higher on November 5th than they were on the listing date, October 5th. So with that being said, this will create more net sell pressure by 6 times than this point here. And if this dropped the market 50%, who knows what this can drop the market. But I would imagine if everyone who bought in the IDO seed round, receiving their allocation, and the private rounds, everyone's in profit 44,000% just on the IDOs. Seed rounds at 112,000% return on their original investment, and the private rounds is somewhere in the middle at 64,000. So what would you do? You know, if you had these tokens and you had millions of tokens, what would you do? You'd likely take profit. Maybe not all, but you would take a good percentage, because you can use those funds, the opportunity cost of the $300,000 that you can sell. You can then put it into a next project and earn money on that one. So I'd imagine there is going to be some net sell pressure on the unlock day on Friday. But at the same time, it's important to understand that Bloktopia is a very smart team the way they've been doing their press releases, releasing information to the public to drive price, catalyst, that sort of thing, they've been doing it really well. So I'd imagine if they had a big listing coming up with a tier 1 exchange like Binance or Coinbase, they would likely do it before or just after an unlock to balance out the net sell pressure on the way down. And if that's what they do, then they should balance whatever unlock is going to happen on the 5th over here. Also keep in mind, with the land sale, they're burning all the tokens that they receive from the land sale. So that again, applied to the net sell pressure, is going to balance it out quite a bit as well. So important to know that between these two things, there's going to be some balance, but expect volatility on Friday. If you're in profits, the most prudent thing to do right now would be to take profits. You don't have to sell your whole bag. I didn't. I sold a portion of my bag, but I've been taking profits since way back here. Every single top on the way up, every impulse, I've been taking profits. So I still have a pretty decent bag, and I'm going to keep it in, but that's because I bought early, right? If you're a top buyer and you bought here around 10 cents, then, I would consider selling, because to be honest with you, the price is likely, in real time, just look at it, it's coming down. So the price is likely to come down when the tokens are unlocked, even with balancing it with good announcements like a tier 1 exchange listing or the tokens being burned from the land sale. So hopefully this helps, guys. I know it's kind of shitty that there's an unlock, but every major project has it at some point. The good thing is their schedule is really reasonable. They did, for most part, 5 to 10% unlock on listing on KuCoin, and then each distribution is about 10-20% per distribution. So they're doing it on a linear scale, which is very positive. They're not doing a lump sum unlock of 20% or 30% one time, and everyone gets to unload onto the market at once, because that you couldn't recover from that. And there's some projects that have done that. These guys are doing it very responsibly, but the key right now would be capital preservation and risk management, right? This is not in the bullish trend. It is, but right now you see the decline. It's basically taking back this giant candle over here to the downside. So, if we dip below this candle, there could be more of a dip. Who knows? It'll naturally find its floor at some point. I'm using the log channel to estimate around 9 cents being the bottom of the channel right now. So we're close to it now. We'll see how it reacts, but it's already reacted well here with that giant wick. If it keeps falling out of the channel, then the channel is no longer valid, because it would be a broadening channel, and that's not the way we treat them. So hopefully everyone's in profit. If you're not and you're a top buyer, you bought over here around 11, 12, 13, whatever, you might want to exercise risk management, sell a portion of it, if not most. Overall, I'm super confident in the project. I think it's going to go well over $1. I think this is the benchmark for metaverse projects, and I'm going to keep a bag in here as long as I have to, because I believe long term it's going to be beautiful. We're all going to make money, and the key now is just to understand your risk and what you're comfortable with. I'm not a short-term trader, so I'm going to leave my money in, a good portion of it, and just wake up in January in incredible profits. So anyway, best of luck to everyone. If you have questions, let me know. I'm always here, as you know, and I wish everyone luck with Block and mucho upside.